Hi everyone. Welcome to our last session on this week. Unfortunately, WWDC 2022 is over, and it is our final recapping session. So we waited for this session for the whole year, and um, already it is finished. Today we will discuss about what was interesting on this week, what we have discovered for ourselves. And our contributors of today's session is Ed Ehrenberg, Maninder Singh, and me, Anna Zharkova. I will be a lead of this session. So, what was interesting for us on this week? We watched a lot of different sessions about Swiss UI, new things about concurrency, of course, a lot of things about accessibility, UI, working with iPads, multi-platform working in Apple, mentioning all this, and of course a lot of things about performance optimization and etc, and of course a lot of new features as messages, work with sharing, and so on. So we will discuss about what was interesting for us and what was our favorite session. But at first I would like to ask Ed about the hackathon. What is it be and what were
Oh,
the results of it?
well, thank you, Anna. So the hackathon's still going on. I'm taking a short break from it to do this, and after my 45-minute nap I just finished. For me, that's still 5 in the morning, about 6 in the morning now here. But the hackathon's got a bunch of teams. Everybody got to pick any topic that they wanted from the week, basically something that was new, introduced either during the week or at the keynotes, and try to build something with that technology and to be able to show it off today. Now in about 4 hours, I think everything is due. We have a separate little chat area for all the different teams, so I've kind of seen people popping in there occasionally and talking. And I think the interesting thing for me has been the ability to actually go in and deep dive on some of this new tech. And that's when you kind of realize what you see on the surface, the presentations, maybe some of the quick demos, they look great. But when you try to do something yourself and there's zero documentation on it and there's nobody else you can ask for help and you can't go to Stack Overflow because nobody's tried it yet, you're pretty much fumbling through a lot of it. So some people have struggled a little bit with some of the new APIs. I admit I had a few issues early on, but kind of worked through them. Um, so it's been instructive. I know that as people start to use some of the tech on themselves, hopefully community discussions will start around the issues that they've had, and we can all answer each other's problems. So wish me luck. 4 hours to go.
All the best.
So we're wishing you luck, and that's cool that people are trying um, to use all the things they have firstly saw on these sessions, and that's really cool. But I think that Stack Overflow could ask them after all this hackathon
Yeah,
how to work with this.
definitely. And apparently voting for the hackathon is going to be open for 24 hours. So I think once 10 o'clock rolls around and if everyone's come back to WWDC.community, you'll be able to see a list of all the projects and the links to their videos. So please come back, check them out, vote often, and wish all the contestants good luck.
That's amazing. And what was your favorite session on this week? Uh, have you enough time to watch them?
Not enough time. There's never enough time, and for those people who are feel like they're way behind, don't feel that way. You got a lot of time to watch them at your leisure when you actually can. I've spoken to a lot of people this week. Some have only watched a few videos. Some have deep dive on the ones that really interested them because they applied to what they're doing. But the reality is we've all got a few months before we can ever release anything anyways. So plenty of time to sit back and go through them and watch them more than once if you have to. But for me, I looked at DubDub this year, both for all the new toys we get, and from a tools perspective, I think the new Xcode is awesome. That's probably been my favorite thing that was talked about and introduced, just because I'm going to be using it every day. And I really think that they've done a great job in moving the tool forward. But if I had to pick one piece of tech, I'm going to go with the App Intense API.
That's cool.
And
And what about you, Maninda?
Um, like as I said, like I have saw some of the videos. The interesting thing is the charts API that Apple introduced. Now we are in my current project. I am like using that charts API to like not to use the third party integration of charts. Now I want to use the new charts API. So it's interesting topic for every iOS developer. Like it's been hard to use the charts through third party, and like everything is like every single piece of code, every R code become mutual. So yeah, like Apple introduced the charts thing. It's interesting, and after that I have watched the WebView enhancement in WebView. Like previously in 2020 or 2021, we the Apple enables the uh, media kit. Like we can share the media or video streaming through WebView, and now they enhance that WebView again. Like they enable some of the APIs like full screen API. Like in the video streaming thing, the Apple default tendency is used to shrink down to full screen, so it causes error in if someone using WebView. So they gives us the API to enable full screen mode, and they also give us the observer to check whether it is full screen or not. Plus yes, they also enhance some of the stuff like CSS viewport and find the interaction thing. So it's interesting topic to me. Yes. And
yeah, I had a meetup yesterday, and everybody kind of went around and said what was their favorite new item. Now, maybe people didn't just want to repeat from what everyone else had said, but I thought did find it interesting how broad Apple has been this year with all the areas that they've touched, because everybody had a reason why they picked something different, that it affected them in some way, that it applied to their job or their interests or their project that they happen to be working on, and it was going to help them, make it better. So, just the fact that everybody had different opinions really tells me that Apple did a great job of across the board uh, touching areas and making them better.
eventually, like they also gives us one more new API for sharing the screen in Mac OS. Like previously, we used to use OBS Studio and all. Now they enable us the share kit, I guess, which is a good stuff for Mac OS developer also for performance and everything.
I like the most on this tendency that it's not only a deep dive for someone who already is common with these things, but it could also discover something new for those people who was not interested on these areas before. Maybe I think that many developers was interested this year with the Metal 3 and new graphics API. What could be done with this, even when they are not gamers or are not interested in games, because it opens wide opportunities to work with the graphic video, make some photo editors, and core work with photos, for example. Of course, sharing is a wow. It's really nice API, and I like a lot of that. They have presented a lot of features that could be included in your application to make it working as a native one that Apple made by themselves. And of course, it allows you to make some setting up, and also many of these things could be included in your application with single or several lines of code, and that's awesome.
Yes, agree.
And what do you think about the tendency that on the first days they open with the light sessions and the harder sessions, the most of the mm, the most of the informational flow is given on the last days, or maybe it's only my impression.
Same, like I feel the same. Like initially, when they in the first day, they give us some basics API or some basic enhancement in the app, and after, like in the last day, in the fifth day, they introduce many things around the efficiency and around battery management, around the how we can improve as a developer, and more core, more advanced topic that I can feel like in the fifth day. It's interesting to watch every session. What about Ed? What about you, Ed?
This seems, yeah, this seems like a trend that they've had over the years I've been going and watching. That they're going to give you the what's new, the kind of the intro stuff beginning on, so just so you can get your feet wet and expect to have a little time to maybe play around with the tech. But then, as you've digested it, you're going to have the more in-depth stuff later on in the week. So, for some ways, for some people, all they really need to see is the first day or two, and they can worry about the rest of the week later. Uh, Whereas those who say, I really want that deep dive, I want to really understand something, they have the time to slowly kind of build their way into it. And by the time Friday comes along, they're maybe more prepared by then to get into the more um, technical and the harder topics.
Adding to it, like they also gives us one session around how to be efficient in battery consumption. Like eventually, like I saw that it's a basic session. Like they say to use dark mode instead of light mode, because it is 70% efficient than the normal normal mode, light mode. Because of ondb, it it enables us to gives the like frames or pixel easily in dark mode. And plus they also gives us a brief about, like, not to use background task if you are switching to the app. Let's say you are using location or some sound stuff in your app, and you switch to second app, the and when you switch back to your app, your background task is consuming battery. So if you no need to use that, you can switch off your location, or pause your audio, so that it will not consume the battery consumption as well. And the animation also, that stuff like fascinate me more about how they reach, like first they introduce the basic stuff, like you need to do that, you need to do that. Then they at the last they say, for better or best developer, you need to do all of this stuff, and for better developing the app. What about you, Anna?
Yes, I also mentioned this, and I also noticed this. Um, Well, for me, in this session about background tasking, that of course it is really a new interesting feature, because previously I worked with background tasking only with UI kit applications, and last versions of Swift UI, there it was not clear how to work with background sessions uh, without wrapping it in your classic architecture solution. And in this time it was really interesting, but there still be several white spaces, and it seems to be some of pitfalls, and maybe it's not too clear in documentation what could be done on several cases. but perhaps it's a really nice start point for different developers who will be interested in this thing to make some deep dive on it and search for several solutions that will be also appropriate for Apple, and also let your application to work with background in several cases you used before, because uh, that's not new that different people make some kind of trackers or maybe some audio players, and they need to use background mode with these options, and they have such possibility in other applications and other approach making iOS application, not only iOS but iPadOS and so on. But I think not every person use iPad to work with background. Mostly it's watch or your iPhone. So it will this case and other cases with advanced material will be also discussed a lot in different meetups and conferences, and maybe some white spaces will be covered there, and maybe some of these presented solution will be the inspiration for Apple at the next sessions and next points to make some improvements and enhancements in these technologies. What do you think, Ed, about this?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I thought is always interesting is what did they leave out? Because I think every year there's stuff that they wanted to present or they were hoping they'd be ready for, but just what didn't quite make the prime time, so they didn't put it out for this year's Dub, but maybe they'll have it in a later session. Um, so I think that that's important consideration is that it's not all going to happen here. That we even saw stuff like a few things that they said are coming later, like the live activities APIs. That's coming in a future release. So they're going to have some kind of talks and discussions about how you use it, some example code. Maybe they'll do another little session later this year with a tech talk on some of the topics that they just didn't get to cover at Dub this year. That's my expectation.
And what the topics they have presented this year, what the session had some revolutionary information for you and some really another approach they used previously.
Well, I thought the one eye opener was CarPlay. Not so much from the fact that we're ever going to get to use it, it's still ways out, but just the fact that Apple actually showed it, something that's 18 months or more into the future. They almost never do anything like that certainly that far away. So to me, it was more like we're going to draw a line in the sand, and this is where people need to go. And so not only for developers, but for the car manufacturers too, to say, look what we've got. People are going to want this. It's better than what you have. Come talk to us. Let's get an integration going. So for
And
me,
what
I think
about
that
you,
was the
Maninder? Oh,
single most
sorry.
surprising thing. Yeah, sorry. So that's just my single most surprising thing, I think, from the whole Dub. It was something we're not even going to get to use for a year and a half.
Quite interesting to know. Like, it's quite different. Like, everyone choice is the charts one, but your choice is the car play. It's interesting. Like, for me, the charts is revolutionary because I don't want to use third party in my app. I want to be built by my own. And yes, charts is here and I will use that. Even if it's on Swift UI and we are in UI kit, but I will try to uh, make a bridge to use that because it's interesting. And if you use some third party libraries, there must be a like bug, or if there is a bug in a third party library, we need to wait for their changes. But if we use the native one, we can like we can rely on Apple, but we can't rely on the third party also. So for me, charts is revolutionary. And the share kit, I can say the share kit is something like it's interesting to for a developer or for a Mac OS developer. It's hard to share the screen in while we are streaming. Like, we are using some while like I used to stream the YouTube session. So if I want to use, like I used to some software which is uh, which is not as per my requirement, so I need to switch to Windows to stream the thing. The stream kit might be the revolutionary for me also. What about you, Anna?
As for me, the most revolutionary point was navigation and SwiftUI, because I was waiting for this thing for 3 years. And yes, of course, I like new API for sharing and the new approach to do a lot of stuff between different devices, to share information between different devices, to make it supportable in your application and compatible with it, and other transferable mechanisms. It's really cool, and I like it a lot. And I think it will be a really cool idea to add it in my applications on my work and my pet projects, to investigate it. But the navigation was at the top because um, when every ever since 2019, we were waiting for this option, and to covering the previous pitfalls we faced when Swift UI was published and was available for us to develop our application. But the way they presented it, it was really interesting, and of course there still be several improvements, and many of us who were presented our own frameworks, how to use navigation in Swift UI to allow people, for example, to do programmatically new navigation, or maybe to return to some level back, or return to root. We will use this one with our presented solutions to make some kind of improvements, and maybe on the next week, on the next year, not week, that's a fantasy, I'm sorry. On the next year there will be a really ideal navigation in Swift UI. And of course, that they have permitted for everyone to use Swift UI and UI kit on this way. Even many people have presented it before. I think it's also revolutionary because they have documented this approach as allowed for make to use in our application without any problems or issues, or maybe some problems when we will discuss about this with our colleagues. So this was the one, and I like a lot the way they have improved the concurrency, that they are still working with this and making it really nice and compatible for with iOS 13. That's really cool because many people struggled that it was firstly available for iOS 15, and many applications still need to be compatible with iOS 13. um, of course, there will be iOS 12, but that's evolution and the Darwin law.
Okay. Anna, actually, I am new to the Swift UI thing. So, can you
Yeah.
tell me like what's new thing comes in this WWDC or in past WWDC that fascinate you more
Well,
apart from concurrency?
yes, without concurrency. Yes, I'm a fan of concurrency, as I mentioned on previous sessions, and that's why I mention it everywhere. And speak about this. I can speak about this a long time. Well, speaking honestly, what was new in Swift UI on this year? Not only the things about capability with UI kits, but also there were presented a lot of support of new API. For example, if we would like to use new UI picker, here it is. Only one single line of code, and you have perfect use case and user experience, how to make your app working with your photos and easily. So there is no need to make some boilerplate with UI picker controller and struggle with a lot of this code you need to place somewhere, and you have it to repeated in several places, of course. Also, there is mentioned previously background tasking, and yes, it's a concurrency. We are speaking about what was except concurrency. What was else? Of course, there is sharing API, and there is new extended controls. I like new forms and the ways that are supported now in iPadOS. And I think for many people who were not common with iPadOS, it will be something new that this. The way it uses Swift UI is more common with macOS, but not iPhone OS. So that's really awesome. And of course, there is a lot of improvements, things about architect solution, and so on, so on, so on. And also the way they have presented on grids. And Ed has us previously shown the sample where already was implemented new grid control, and this looks really awesome, especially with the
Yes.
distributed actors. Of course, not non-concurrency. Um, yes, and also there is new features. I like the way they have implemented the support of working with shapes, gradients, and so on, that you can just with one or several lines of code make your UX design in your application really looks like a candy. So it would be really nice looking applications, and it will be an and of course for people who are interested in design, there will be several sessions interested in accessibility, in locations, so on, so on, so on. So Swift UI is not over UI kit, but it still be the tendencies. So, and uh, what also
I,
was
I wanted to
interesting
add
for
to
you,
that.
Ed?
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. I felt like this was the first time SwiftUI has really come into its own. That it's no
Yes.
longer kind of a nice paint job on top of UI kit. That they've pulled out a lot of the pieces that they had to get it out there, when they did, and now replaced it with native implementations that are SwiftUI only, first class stuff, from the navigation to the layout stuff, and all the the essential components like Anna mentioned that you need when you're building an app, like the pickers and the share sheets and things that maybe weren't on the top of the list on day one, but eventually you have to get those things out there in order to make them more native Swift UI as far as their integration. So I'm very encouraged by that. And I was encouraged by things like charts. It's not really Swift UI. It is a whole new package that you import and you work with, and the fact that they're able to build what they could using the same paradigms, using the same builder concepts, that are in Swift UI and those same patterns, to be able to make a tool that felt very natural for those of us who are familiar with Swift UI, and it integrates really well. I can only imagine what else might be coming down the road that will follow a similar pattern.
Eventually, like I feel, I was like, when the Swift UI was introduced, I was like, I will wait for until it will stable out, and I will then experiment my skill, everything, and with SwiftUI, and develop app on SwiftUI. I feel like it's now the time to use SwiftUI. Also, the concurrency stuff also by Anna. Yeah.
Yes, I'm a big fan of it. And what will be your expectation from the next year? Maybe you have already make your wish list of what will be interesting for you and what will be the most expectable for you in new features, or maybe the features were not mentioned on this topic. What it could be.
Sure.
For
Uh,
feature side,
Go ahead.
oh sorry,
No, go ahead.
Apart from feature, I have an expectation of iOS 40. Sorry, iPhone 14 this year. So I will expect iPhone 14 soon. And about feature, I want to be. I want to see more in terms of URL session or the API calling. Or although it's already good at its own, but I want to see new thing like it's like there is a lot of time that they are not going update on this, so I want update on this like URL session stuff. That is the point that I am expecting from like next year, from next year. What about you, Ed?
Well, for me, I like to look at DubDub as reading the tea leaves. Ever since we had auto layout, how many years ago, and that led to new size classes, and suddenly we got a bunch of new iPhones in different sizes. I think one could see that that was coming based on the technology they had introduced a year or two earlier, at DubDub, and kind of said, pay attention to this. This is going to be important, and start adopting these things. So I was trying to look through this year's DubDub and see, well, what can one intuit from what we've seen so far that they didn't present, but maybe are indicating that's where things are going to be. Besides the obvious comment that they put out there says, if you're making a new app, do it in Swift UI. There's probably more reasons for some of the things that they put out there. So I think the big 800-pound gorilla that didn't get announced this year was Reality OS. And while Apple doesn't comment on unannounced products, I think it's pretty clear from all the hints and rumors and information that's been gleaned from stuff that's been put out that it's coming. It may be 6 months, maybe 9 months down the road, but they definitely introduced a bunch this week that one could look at and says, that's why it's out there. Things like the more focus modes, being able to affect apps. Great for the phone and all, but imagine if you're wearing some sort of goggles or glasses and you want to be able to easily change the whole user experience based on where you are, what you're doing. Integrating with focus mode seems like a great way to be able to do that very easily across the whole platform. They had a bunch of small things in there, but a lot of the metal stuff, the reality kit stuff, the room planning stuff. Did you see the room plan session where you can just use your phone and basically build a room plan? Indicates that the level of which glasses or goggles, whatever, will be able to understand the environment in which you're in and provide that for apps to be able to make use of. They had some of the others. Even the live text, for example,
Yes.
with your phone. Nice for the phone, essential for glasses.
Yes, eventually, like for me, I used to watch some of the session of Paul Hudson or something, and if I want to copy that code, I need to write that. Now I will directly use that live text feature in the video as well. So I will directly copy and directly paste to my code if I need it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Live activities, another great example where, yeah, it's great for the phone, see the current sports score, see the game going on, all that, that's at a glance. But again, essential, I think, for a headset of some kind where you just want something to kind of be able to pop up and be interactive without being a whole heavyweight application. A perfect use case for live activities on a headset. They had the freeform. There's something I haven't heard too many people talk about, but that was that whiteboard tech that they demoed and said it's coming eventually. Well, so is Reality OS coming eventually. So imagine an environment in which you're collaborating in a big open space on a headset rather than scrolling around on your phone or pad to all the areas that people are jotting down and working in. It seems like another precursor to a headset.
Yes, I also like that there is a lot of features that mention that future is here, and we should not only focus on how Swift and iOS working under the hood and all this stuff about API and performances optimization, but also there is a great features that means new era for people and for applications and for devices, and we also need to focus there not only on the small level, on low level, but also on high and biggest one. We need to get the whole picture of this, and also we need to focus on this, not only on optimization, performance, and memory, and I think, and I agree with you that on this point we need to wait something new approach and maybe some new APIs, or maybe already discovered for us this year. APIs will be more open, and there will be wide possibilities for us to make it. Not only concurrency and memory, but also several approaches to make application more convenient. I don't mean that it will be something no code application, because I'm not fan of not non code approach, because all non code constructors are already made by some people, some developers. So I don't believe on this approach. But also the simplifying, making UI means this. It will speed up the development, and it will allow many developers to provide new and better applications for people in different topics faster than people are waiting for it. Oh yes, that will be the really nice for our customers, for all the customers of all developers, and also that means that we could focus on different topics, not only loyalty programs, but also a lot of things about health, and maybe working with our body and monitoring it. And I think, and I agree with you that we need to focus on this and wait for some improvements on these areas.
Plus,
Yeah,
I was expecting about, like, as Apple introduced the charts kit, I was expecting to get new kit on for Lotte as well. If they provide Lotte, then it's completely revolutionary to us to adapt the Lotte thing in Apple without using the Airbnb libraries.
yeah. As a runner, I was really thrilled to see what they did with fitness and all the new health kit stuff. And in fact, I had a session on the labs with somebody discussing some of the topics there. And they've still got a little ways to go, and they're looking for more feedback on how developers are going to make use of it. But it's really impressive how quickly they have become, I think, a major player in the fitness platform space.
Oh, by the way, have you able to update your iOS version to 16?
Yeah, I've got a test device that I did it with. And to be honest, I'm running Ventura right now. So we're talking, and it's running just fine under Ventura. It's been pretty stable.
Okay, from my side, all the uh, bank app is gonna be like is crashing a lot, and even the phone app. But eventually, the new lock screen and the new message thing is fascinating for me. That's why I installed iOS 16 in my current phone. So yeah. What about you, Anna? Have you able to install iOS 16?
I'm going to install a code, a new beta version, and use iOS 16 on emulators, because I have no test device, and I will be waiting for stable version to update it on my own iPhone. And also I would like to try all this thing because I also have an application with widgets, and also I'm at user, and I think I will add already even a new version will be stable only on autumn, as I mentioned before. So for those our spectators who have missed the dates of new releases, beta will be available on July, stable beta, and stable version of iOS 16 will be available for you on autumn, maybe on August, maybe on September, but on some of these dates. So before of this, I would like to make several additions and extra information in my lessons for my students, and to make them common with a new API, maybe not only navigation and currency, but also with other features, and I think that these several months will be a nice time for the developers who would like to be a pioneer of new technologies, to present several new samples and new bases, and to make some sources base for Stack Overflow.
Yep.
So that was really nice week, and that was really nice talk. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Maninda. And unfortunately, we have to finish it up. And at the final words, let us recap one more time what was interesting on this week. So we recommend you to see all the sessions, but first make some kind of priority what is the most important for you, and on these sessions pay to them more attention. Also, Ed has posted a link on WWDC notes. We would like ask our host to share it on the video. So if you have no opportunity to watch the sessions, or it will be easy for you to understand it on written information, that is a really nice opportunity. Thanks, Ed, for this sharing. And of course, the most important topics on this week was every topic, and uh, yes, so make your own list and make your own plan. Perhaps, not only the topics you waited previously will be your favorite, but also you will discover something new on other areas. Maybe you would like to make a deep dive into widgets, into sharing, or maybe in metal, and or to add some new information for you about accessibility as one of the trends. I would like to thank Ad and Maninder um, for this session. I would like um, to thank WWDC community. So still be on hackathon and other activities of WWDC community, and watch us today and watch every session of WWDC 2022. So, and uh, I would like to say goodbye for the next year. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Maninda, one more time.
Thanks, Hannah, for
Thank you, Anna.
the community or the commentating session with us, and it's been a lovely session for me as well. And yes, thanks for WWDC to again giving me the opportunity to contribute in the commentator session. Yeah, and thanks, Edward. It's been lovely to know you, and like your hackathon idea and everything. It's amazing and fascinating to me as well. And I will now jump to Swift UI with
There you
both
go.
of you guys. And yeah, thanks.
And a
So
big thank you to Mishi for organizing all this. Her efforts are, go under the radar. People don't see her all the time, but it's been amazing what she's been able to put together for this community. So thank you for all that.
goodbye.
Bye.
Have a nice
Bye
day.
bye.
And for Ed, have a nice morning.
Take a nap.
Thank you.